This is the story of a 23-year-old who slept in his car for 4 months, not because he wanted to, because he had nowhere else to go. His name was Tyler, and 6 months before this story starts, he had a 1-bedroom apartment, a job at a warehouse, and a plan. None of it survived the year. What happened next sounds impossible. He built a 6-figure business using nothing but other people's trash and Facebook Marketplace, and it started with a couch he almost didn't pick up. Stay until the end, because the moment he found out what was actually inside that couch will change how you look at every free sign you've ever ignored. Let's go back to the beginning. Tyler grew up in Reno, Nevada. Middle-class family, nothing dramatic. He worked at an Amazon warehouse for 3 years after high school, pulling 12-hour shifts, telling himself it was temporary. It wasn't temporary. It became his whole life. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. He had $400 in savings at 22 years old. Then the warehouse cut his hours. Not fired, just cut down to 20 hours a week, which on paper sounds fine, but in reality meant he couldn't make rent. He missed 1 payment, then 2. His landlord gave him a choice, pay in 5 days or be out. Tyler didn't have it, not even close. On a Tuesday morning, he packed everything he owned into the back seat of a 2009 Honda Civic. Clothes, a laptop, a phone charger, and a blanket his grandmother had made him. That was it. For the next 4 months, that car was his apartment. He showered at a 24-hour gym using a guest pass. A coworker let him borrow. He ate gas station food. He told no one, not even his parents. He says the hardest part wasn't the discomfort. It was the silence in his own head at 3 a.m, wondering if this was just how his life was going to be. One night, driving back from a gas station with a sandwich, he passed a wealthy neighborhood on the other side of town. People there put things on the curb for trash pickup that, to Tyler, looked brand new. He saw a couch sitting outside a house with a sign taped to it that said free. He almost kept driving. He had nowhere to put a couch. He lived in a car. But something made him stop. Maybe boredom, maybe desperation. He pulled over, walked up, and looked closer. It was a mid-century modern piece, the kind people search for specifically on resale apps. He didn't know anything about furniture resale, but he had a phone, and he had nothing else to do at 11 at night. So he opened Facebook Marketplace and searched the brand name stamped under the cushion. That single search changed everything. The exact model, used, was selling on Facebook Marketplace for $350. The couch in front of him was in nearly perfect condition. He didn't have a truck. He didn't have storage. What he had was a friend with a pickup and a willingness to ask for a favor he was embarrassed to ask for. He listed it on Facebook Marketplace that same night, with 3 photos taken on the curb under a streetlight. 3 days later, that couch sold for $320 to a college student furnishing her first apartment. Tyler had made more money in 1 transaction than he made in 2 shifts at the warehouse. That night changed how he saw every curb in his city. He realized something most people walk past every single day. People don't throw away trash nearly as often as they throw away things they're simply tired of looking at. He started driving through wealthier neighborhoods on trash nights, specifically Sunday evenings before Monday pickup. He'd photograph anything that looked promising and check Facebook Marketplace for prices later from the driver's seat of his car. Within 2 weeks, he had a system. Look for furniture with visible brand stamps. Avoid anything water-damaged or with broken structural joints. Focus on mid-century, industrial, and specific designer pieces, because those hold value the longest on Marketplace. But there was a problem. He had no storage space and no real transportation. Every item he found, he had to sell within days, or he'd have nowhere to keep it. So he got resourceful. He'd photograph items where they sat on the curb, post them immediately on Facebook Marketplace with a pickup available tonight note, and arrange for buyers to grab items directly, sometimes within hours of finding them. This actually worked in his favor. Buyers loved the speed. No waiting, no storage delays, just see it, want it, get it. His turnover became his entire business model. A month in, he was averaging $600 a week, almost entirely through Facebook Marketplace. Still living in his car, but now by choice rather than necessity, because every dollar he made went straight into a savings account he refused to touch. He set himself one rule. He would not get an apartment until he had 3 months of rent saved in advance, plus a buffer. He never wanted to be one missed shift away from the back seat again. Then came the night that tested everything. He found what looked like an ordinary dresser outside a house in an upscale part of town. Heavy, dark wood, slightly worn, nothing special at first glance. He almost left it. But a drawer was stuck, and when he wiggled it open in his car, parked under a streetlight, he found something taped to the underside of the drawer. An envelope. Inside it, old savings bonds from the 1980s, belonging to someone who had clearly passed away or moved on, forgotten entirely inside furniture that was donated or thrown out without anyone checking first. Tyler had a choice most people don't get tested on: cash them anonymously or try to track down the family. He chose to track them down, mostly because he couldn't shake the thought of someone's grandmother's savings disappearing into his own pocket by accident. It took him 2 weeks of asking around the neighborhood, checking old utility records through a public records site, and one cold phone call that felt completely insane to make. He found the family, an elderly man whose late wife had stored away savings bonds for their granddaughter's education, completely forgotten after the dresser was donated during a move. The family was stunned, not just by the bonds, worth nearly $4,000 after maturity, but by the fact that a stranger living out of his car bothered to track them down instead of cashing them quietly. The grandfather didn't just thank him. He told other people in the neighborhood. And in a community built on word of mouth and next-door posts, that story spread fast. Within weeks, people in that neighborhood started reaching out to Tyler directly before putting things on the curb. Not because they wanted money for items they were donating anyway, but because they trusted him to handle their things honestly. This is the turning point most people miss when they hear stories like this. It wasn't the couch that built his business. It was the reputation that came from one honest decision, when no one would have known if he hadn't. Tyler started getting first access to entire estate cleanouts, garage clearouts, and downsizing moves before anyone else even knew the items existed. He wasn't competing with other curb pickers on Facebook Marketplace anymore. He had a pipeline. 6 months after sleeping in his car for the first time, he signed a lease on a small one-bedroom apartment. Not because he was desperate this time, but because he finally had the choice and the buffer to do it on his own terms. He converted the second bedroom into inventory storage. He bought a used cargo van with cash. He brought on a friend part-time to help with pickups, because the volume had outgrown what one person could handle. By month 9, Tyler was clearing $4,000 a month in profit, almost all of it moving through Facebook Marketplace, more than triple what the warehouse had ever paid him for 3 times the hours. He expanded beyond furniture. Electronics people assumed were broken but just needed a $15 part. Tools rusted on the outside but fully functional. Bicycles missing one part that cost less to fix than the bike was worth. All of it listed the same way. Photos, a price, and a marketplace link. The pattern, he says, was always the same. People don't throw things away because they're worthless. They throw things away because fixing or selling them takes effort they don't have time for. That gap between something being worth almost nothing to the owner and worth quite a lot to someone willing to put in a little effort became his entire business model. 1 year after that first couch, Tyler had a registered business, a small team of 2, and a system other people started asking him to teach them. He didn't expect that part. People who heard his story, mostly through word of mouth at first, wanted to know exactly how he did it. So, almost by accident, he started running a small paid workshop on weekends, teaching people his sourcing and Facebook Marketplace resale method. That side business alone now brings in more in a single weekend workshop than his old warehouse job paid him in 2 full weeks. Today, 18 months removed from that car, Tyler owns a small house with a detached garage he uses entirely as inventory space. He still drives through neighborhoods on trash night. He says he'll probably never stop, even now that he doesn't need to. When people ask him what changed everything, he doesn't say the couch, and he doesn't say the money from the savings bonds either. He says it was the decision to do the right thing with the bonds when nobody was watching. He believes that one choice is what turned a side hustle into a real business, because reputation, in a business built on trust and word of mouth, is worth more than any single item he's ever found. So, here's what this story actually teaches. Beyond the obvious lesson about flipping furniture on Facebook Marketplace, most opportunity isn't hidden. It's sitting on a curb, in a job you're overqualified for, in a skill you haven't monetized yet. The opportunity isn't usually the hard part. The hard part is starting before you feel ready, and staying honest once it starts working. Tyler didn't have capital. He didn't have a mentor. He didn't even have an apartment. What he had was a phone, 2 free hours one Tuesday night, and the willingness to look closer at something everyone else had already decided was worthless. If you're in a season right now that feels like Tyler's car, this is your reminder that the version of you on the other side of this is closer than it feels. It doesn't usually arrive through one big break. It arrives through one small decision, made consistently, long enough for it to compound. If this story resonated with you, subscribe, because every video on this channel follows someone exactly like Tyler. Real people, real numbers, real turning points. And drop in the comments what neighborhood you'd start checking on trash night, because I guarantee somebody reading this already knows exactly where to look.